Hello everyone, welcome back to Fanblade. It's 8-string bass time. There's quite a lot to get through here, so I'm just going to dive straight on in. What I have on the bench in front of me is a 3-string fretless bass that I made about 2 or so years ago. Long-term viewers will recall, of course, I made videos about all of this. Now, it hasn't seen that much use. In fact, it's pretty much sat on the shelf for the last 2 years. In fact, I even said at the time, I don't need a 3-string fretless bass. Whereas I do have a usage case for an 8-string bass. I have a Led Zeppelin tribute band, we've got gigs, I'd love to be able to play some 8-string on there. So, this body is great. All I need to do is fit a new bridge and a new neck. Before I can do that, I need to build them. Before I can do that, I need to design them. But before I can design them, there is one burning question, which is kind of an important thing to understand. When you have a low E from a bass and a low E from a guitar, how close together can you get them before they crash into each other? This is the thing that I'm going to have to test, and this bass just happens to be the perfect little test jig. So what I'm going to do is modify this bridge ever so slightly to take 2 strings and have them movable. Do the same with the nut. And I'm just going to run some tests and see how close can I squeeze them together before they crash into each other and start making horrible noises. So that is step 1 of a long process, but a journey of 1,000 miles starts with step 1. So let's start. Okay, we've got strings on and tuned to E. Sounding not too bad either. There is a little bit of a rattle on the high E, and that is because the nut is an Allen key. If I mute that, sounds a lot more like you would hope that it would sound. Also, fretless. I'm just enjoying that, actually. Let me know in the comments if you want me to do a fretless guitar, because that would be awful. I've got a couple of these miniature vice grips which I can adjust to just pinch these a little bit closer together, and we'll see how close we can get before they start to clatter into each other. I don't know how close I'm going to be able to do this, because if you have a look at a slow motion shot of a bass string moving, there's an awful lot of movement there. And I don't know what's going to happen when we start pinching these together. But let's find out. The gap between the strings is currently set to 5mm, muting the Allen key rattle, and seems to be good. Alright. Okay, that is set to a 4mm gap at both ends, muting the Allen key rattle. We've gone slightly out of tune, but that's to be expected. No string clatter. 3mm at each end. Oh, muting the... Okay, let's carry on. This is a 2mm gap between each string. That is closer together than the width of the E string. What if I play it with a pick? There's 1 millimetre between them. This can't possibly play properly. There's a bit of an unpleasant rattle happening there. Also, I don't know if I can actually push down. Yeah, see, that's not playing right. Well, 2 millimetres seems to be about right. We will go with that. Now here's what I've come up with. I'll spare you the boring details of how I arrived at any of this. It took a fair bit of figuring out, but there's basically what I want for a nut, basically how everything's going to sit on the bridge, then there's where the saddles are going to have to sit for the bridge and what the base plate's effectively going to have to look like, and then this is just the side view of the whole assembly with an expanded view for some measurements because that got a little bit fiddly to write on. It doesn't look like much on paper, but this is enough for me to go by. I can pretty much say that I've got a plan. Here it is. It's time to start marking and drilling and cutting metal. And here it is, looking very much like a bridge. It's not quite finished yet. I obviously need to put some springs down on this side here just to hold those in place and lock all that down. Now all I've got to do is figure out how I'm going to mount it to the body, and what I've come up with is pretty quick and dirty actually. T-nut mounted in the body, big old set screw through a hole there and into there. What I'm actually considering doing is just chucking these bolts in the lathe and just filing a little groove in there, and then putting a groove in the end of here so that that will actually slide in, screw down into the T-nut, should hold it nice and stable. These are M8 bolts, so nice and rigid, and it'll give me all the height adjustment that I need. I've got all the intonation adjustment, should be perfect. Well, that's an 8-string bridge on a bass. It's not perfect. There's a few little wobbles and a few pieces just have a bit of sideways movement. The whole thing's got a little bit of a rock going on that way. I don't anticipate that being a problem. That might be annoying, but there are a couple of solutions. I could either hope that the string tension is just going to push it down and lock it down solidly. Alternatively, I can actually put some thread tape on these bolts, and that should stop any rattling that may want to happen. Although I don't see it being too much of a problem, but if it is, then I have some solutions in mind for it. The immediate problem that I've got to solve is what on earth do I do to actually anchor the strings down? There's not a whole lot of space to play with. So I was sort of intending to polish up a bit of this brass rod, stick it about there, and have the strings just come over and just go straight through and mount in the back of the body. I don't know if the strings are going to have enough length to reach that far before getting all the way to the headstock, because we are dealing with guitar strings. I'm sort of tempted to take all of this apart and just put some holes right in the back of there, because there's going to be a string on that side, a string on that side, string comes over, goes straight down through the hole. I'm going to think about that for a bit. Okay, I've taken 24 hours to think about this, and really the problem is that there isn't enough body to put a string retainer further back, because you wind up running into this curve here, and you can't really mount the thing far back enough to make that angle make sense. The solution to that problem is that you have much less of an angle, and the problem that you encounter then is that you run into the back of the bridge there. The solution to that problem is that you make the bridge saddles a bit higher. So, there's a lot of work that I've put into these. but ultimately they're not going to work. Also, I came to the conclusion that as they are now, I haven't left myself any room to put any kind of radius on there, so I would have to have a perfectly flat fingerboard. I don't particularly like that idea. I'm going to have to make new bridge saddles. Here we go again. Well, that was 2.5 hours that I'll never get back, but I wouldn't want them back because these are better saddles than those ever were. They're more even, they're a lot more consistent, they're the right height. This is going to make for a better instrument. I can get a string coming over that saddle, push it all the way down to the body before hitting the back of the bridge. So in reality, the end of the string is probably going to be sitting about there, probably mounted in a big block of brass, which I suppose now it's time to cut this up. There it is. 8-string bass bridge. Looks pretty, doesn't it? If I were to do this again, there's several things I would improve. First of all, I wouldn't make the bridge saddles twice. I would only do those once and I'd get them right the first time. Second thing I would change, the holes that go through here, I've drilled them up on an angle so they come out sort of at the top. I probably wouldn't bother doing that, or I might only do it very subtly, because where I've drilled out the holes larger for the low E and A strings, there's not a whole lot of meat left on the top there, and I'm not expecting it to break through, but I will be monitoring it just to see how it takes the tension. Aside from that, yeah, like it's going to be perfectly functional. It looks great as well. What more could you ask for? Other than a sound demonstration, which I can't give you because I haven't made the neck yet. As regards the neck, there's going to be a slight delay on that video. I'm trying to find some carbon fibre rods to reinforce the neck, because you really do want to reinforce a bass neck when it's got 8 strings on it. Twice the amount of tension on it, you've kind of got to do that. I can't find any carbon fibre rods locally. I may have to look slightly further afield, which is going to cause a bit of a delay. Generally, the more time and care you put into a neck, the better the result anyway. In the meantime though, thank you very much for watching this video, thank you very much for subscribing to my channel, and I will see you as soon as I can. Thank you.